right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody had an awesome Eternal weekend, whether you went or you watched from home like I did. I was lucky to have a front row seat commentating a bunch of both the vintage and legacy portion. I had a blast watching all these players ball out with their amazing decks, amazing looking decks on top of that. And yeah, I guess we have a little bit of a new data point. I noticed that Dimir tempo didn't do well in the tournament, and I always think that's interesting when there's a difference between what I believe and what some data will say, right? So I'm a very confident guy, so I'm here to play some Dimir tempo and try it out. I still very much believe in the Kaito way of life. I did make a few changes to accommodate for the metagame. I've added Mishra's Bauble. I shaved a Ponder and a Daze from my deck, essentially. I love having bigger Nethergoyfs early and often. Let's see how that plays out. Still on 2 Nihil Spellbombs in the main deck. Sometimes it's 3, but it's going to be 2 for today. I guess versions before have played 4 Bowmasters. That's something to think about. I think that card is great against a lot of decks and not great against a bunch of other decks. So this is a little bit of a problem with the deck, that when you play polarized cards like Bowmasters and I guess Fatal Push, Nihil Spellbomb, that are either, you know, amazing or very supper, then you can get some mixed results. So let's see if we can bypass that today and do well. Sideboard-wise, I added a 4th copy of Consigned to Memory. I think that's time with Forge in the top of the metagame. Plenty of crossover for this card against lots of other Ancient Tomb decks, whether it's Cloud Post or Chalice decks. Speaking of Chalice, a little bit of diversified removal here. This member takes care of a lot of stuff, including Reality Smasher, Overlord of the Baelmerk, and of course Magus of the Moon. Edict as a little bit of a Married Lage crossover, Married Lage Planeswalker, big creature crossover, a couple of Baragoyfs to hammer home the mid-range point post sideboard, a couple of fairies to aid the spell bombs against Reanimator and Oops explosives. Play some 1-drops, mainly here to kill Chalice of the Void, some negations to not die on the draw, and some hydros to improve on any red matchup, whether that's tempo, whether that's painter, prison, sneak attack, rite of flame, you name it. So yeah, with all of that being said, let's get into some tempo action. All right, round 1, I'm playing Dimir tempo with Baubles. I think what I'm going to do this game is use Bauble on my opponent to hopefully educate the Ponder. Although I'm mainly just interested in lands, so I can go the 1-2 punch of Bowmasters plus Kaito here. Let's see what I'm up against. Polluted Delta, didn't learn that much. I'll go for a duel here, I believe. Ponder, want to see lands. There's a land. So which one of these cantrips are going to be better? Next turn, ideally, I want Bowmaster shuffled, and which card do I want to get left with? That's kind of the issue. Maybe this hand is decent, so I can probably play like this. I think that's fine. Now land is on top of my deck. That means if I'm playing against a Bauble deck, they get to see that card. Never mind. I forgot all about this. Oh, that's too funny. So I'm just going to draw all the cards. Well, there's that. So we are indeed up against that deck, huh? So this is amazing for me. Turn 1 Chandler. I can play Bowmaster with Daze backup. So unless my opponent has some incredible Bauble draw here or double counter, I get to have a very, very nice exchange here with Orcish Bowmasters. Let's play the Orc. Ready to Daze a Daze, ready to Daze a Force. Or the easy way. Okay. So now my opponent could have a Cutter draw. I would happily Daze a Forest Steel Cutter. The Bowmaster's on the field means it has to eat a Lightning Bolt at some point, and I already killed a creature, and it leaves behind a body. So yeah, this is pretty good. I would love to get to Kaito shenanigans before I'm weak to Murktide Regent. Let's see what the opponent has going on here. I'm hoping for a Cutter to Daze. This works as well. And here's Lightning Bolt, I guess. So if it's Lightning Bolt, we let our opponent resolve the trigger, and then we try and daze it. I like keeping it around a lot. Looks like a Delver? Delver of Secrets. Is that a card I should daze? I actually like dazing that card because I look to be missing my land drop next turn. This is fine. So daze that card, untap, push the Channeler, cast Ponder, move about with my day. Okay, that's a good plan. Brainstorm is an unexciting draw. Fatal Push. Let's see. My opponent doesn't want to cast Force of Will. Here's a Ponder that they're more than welcome to daze. Huh. These cards, huh? So Force of Will into Crack Spellbomb. This is a little bit annoying because Wasteland is all of a sudden a great card against me. But if I don't get wasted, I love my spot. Also, my opponent has no way of knowing that they're getting... that they're, you know, that Wasteland is good because I returned my land with Daze and replayed it. I didn't miss my land drop. Okay, now there's this play. I think the opponent's hand is cantrips if you want to make a play like this. I feel like my opponent would have dazed me on the other turns. I'm going to fire a Force of Will here. Let's see, I have another Kaito coming. Maybe I should just pitch Kaito here. All right, let's pitch Kaito. My opponent's play is very, very strong against if they have land Murktide. Okay, so they're trying to free their cantrip hand. This is all goody. So we get to exchange forces here, and I get to pop a Spellbomb next turn, hopefully. Could get Wastelanded, though. So I guess our opponent's hand is something like Force Blue card, Murktide Regent, 1 unknown. So land Murktide as the last 2 cards would be devastating. If they don't Murktide me here, I love my situation. So let's get in there with the army. Play Spellbomb, crack Spellbomb is the move, because my opponent is all but guaranteed to have a Murktide Regent in hand here. All but guaranteed. I guess I do it on draw step. The next card down is Kaito, so that card is not going to help me. But still gonna do this. This card is brutal for the opponent. But now I feel like I should pass and crack it on draw step, because I know I have a brick on top. If I had a land, or, you know, an unknown, I would dig for a land. Nile Spellbomb. Pay black. Yes. And this play is trying to strand a Murktide Regent in my opponent's hand and kind of reset the game. Okay, 1/1 Channeler. Very, very acceptable card. Main deck Surgical Extraction. That looks like good old Roland Chang from Eternal Weekend was playing such a card in the main deck. Not a card I mind in a fair matchup. So now I think my opponent's last card is the Murktide. With the way they played this game, I'm very happy with my position. Also, when you draw Surgical against a fair deck, you should play it like my opponent is doing right now. And because of Bowmaster being a flash card, they can't do it on my draw step. Also, I'm tapped out, so they can't give me a free shuffle effect with Brainstorm, right? So let's say they did this on my draw step. I could Brainstorm response and get a free shuffle from the Surgical. So you can call the timing surgical precision here from our opponent. Okay, so let's get in there with the Orc. Netherglyph was an amazing draw. I feel like in case my opponent randomly has a Daze in hand, I feel like there's no way, and it's a Murktide Regent 99 times out of 100. But I think for the times, where it isn't, I'm going to go Nethergoyf first, then cast Brainstorm. Ooh, these cards are not bad. So I could shuffle away 2 cantrips and kill the Channeler. Shuffle away 2 cantrips, kill the Channeler. I think that's good. I don't necessarily want my opponent to, you know, draw cantrips and start manipulating their deck. Okay, so this looks like I'll be having a 5/5 Murktide on my hands here. That was annoying, because that was a little bit of a drawback with killing the Channeler there, that a fetch land would then enable that Murktide. Okay, this is cool play. The opponent goes for the auto mill here with the Surveil. This is a good play where you can get a Murktide 1 bigger in case you spike an instant or sorcery on top of the deck. And you were interested in that in a Nethergoyf war here, right? So let's see. Fatal Push, a brick. If I attack here, the opponent eats the Nethergoyf, and I get to stun. I get to stun the Murktide with Kaito. I think that's worth it. It would be a little bit annoying if my opponent draws a bolt or something for the Kaito, but I think this is how I'm supposed to play. Unfortunately, no way of growing the Goyf here. Ninja. Another Goyf gets killed. Let's tap that down, and then next turn I can either replay another Goyf, which is probably what's going to happen. So let's start with sending Kaito to the red zone. My opponent is now at 4. I'll have to remember that next turn. So let's try and draw cards. Lands are bad, but if my opponent have drawn Daze, is that something I should worry about? I don't think so. I think it's fine to mill here. Okay, drawing that card is good. I'm just going to play the Nethergoyf out of the yard. It's just around Daze here. I think that's solid. So let's see. Land, artifact, instant, sorcery, done. And pass. So let's see if the opponent can break out of this. And I'll have 2 lethal creatures if I plus the Kaito. Okay, so I get there. I'm very happy with my Murktide Regent read there and basically curating the whole game around that card. That was kind of pivotal. The opponent put me to the test there with a tough force fighting over the Bowmasters, but my logic was just that they needed to break out of that. That was the whole point. So let's see. I don't like my counter spells against this deck. I think those are quite bad. I think all of these 7 cards are quite good. The explosives being the maybe, but they did show Delver. So let's get rid of our counters. And I can get rid of a Thoughtseize so I can fit everything. That's cool. So just 2 copies of Thoughtseize. I think that's a decent number against red tempo, where you draw 1 sometimes, but you're going to draw 2 very rarely. My main purposes of this card in the matchup, my favorite ones are, you know, snacking a Cutter on turn 1 or snacking a Murktide in the mid game. But I think this is going to be the setup. I wouldn't mind playing a few Dazes. I'll consider it for game 3. But for now, I think I'm looking good here. All right. Up a game versus Izzet. This hand is very bad against a Wasteland, but is super solid against everything else. So now let's see, how do I play? Because I really want to cast Bowmasters on turn 2, especially if my opponent goes Delver or Chandler here. So how can I make that happen? It probably has to do with land pass and end step Brainstorm, because I want to hit my land on time. Where let's say I'm on the play, I slam the Tamiyo a lot on turn 1. Chandler Bobble. Opponent is already working on Delirium. All right, all right. Pretty cool tempo match here to start things off. It's been a while since I've played the game. I've spent too much time on, you know, coaching and preparing for Eternal Weekend, so really excited about this. So I have options here. If I push that card now, will I regret later? Maybe it's a good time to fatal push that card. Because all it takes is like one instant and my opponent is out of Bowmaster range. Yeah, I think this is good. Get rid of that card. I have to survive the night here, and I have to resolve my Brainstorm. Here's Delver Secrets, so I'm over here. Ooh, no land for my opponent either. So we're both crossing our fingers, which is kind of funny. Land here would be disgusting. Oof, yeah, that's insane. So let's see. Opponent did not daze the push. I feel like they don't have daze. They could have Force of Will, and I would be obviously stoked if this resolved. Oh, wow. It does resolve. That's insane. I actually expected to get forced there, but yeah, drawing the second lane on time was insane. Okay, the opponent is also in this game. Another 1-1 getting cast. I think this is my time to either Spellbomb or Brainstorm. What I could do is Tamiyo Brainstorm. Is that a good play? Tamiyo Brainstorm. If I Tamiyo Brainstorm, I have a Lightning Rod for Pyroblast, which is stressing my opponent's mana. That inevitably could clear the way for Kaito. Maybe that's a good investment. I'm expecting to play against the first Pyroblast a lot of the time in this spot, I must say. Okay, I'll go for that play. And then the plan here is to have a land in the top 3. No land in the top 3. So if my opponent bobbles me, what do I want them to see? My opponent bobbles me, what do I want them to see? I guess the Kaito. The Kaito just doesn't matter right now, so maybe it's just a Ponder, and I'm going to cast that card next turn. Okay, so let's attack with Orc Army here. Pass, and now the jig is up when it comes to my mana base. The opponent can put an instant into the yard and grow the channeler. So the thing is, the only instants are hopefully going to be Brainstorm that the opponent is not allowed to cast here. I maybe could have played this turn smarter. Let's see. Should I have attacked first before? Yeah, because let's imagine this Brainstorm gets dazed or whatever, then I miss damage. Yeah, that was not smart. So let's just remind myself, I have a Kaito 2 cards down and a Ponder as the top card. Opponent currently in the tank about, let's say they have something like Dismember onto the Bowmasters, then they can block. I actually think I got away with it there. Okay, the opponent's in the game with the third land here. That's annoying. Or Steel Cutter. Yeah, I think this turn is going to be a little bit painful. Ponder into the graveyard. So that says no lightning bolt to me. Let's see if I'm right about that. Red mana, though. Okay. Well, could easily be a bolt, and then the opponent is hedging against second Bowmaster. I don't know. Unholy Heat with Delirium. The opponent gets a how much damage? 3 damage in on the Tamiyo, unless they have a bobble. Okay. So I get to survive with the Tamiyo. The opponent didn't want to Ponder, or they simply just wanted to mill for Murktide Regent. That's also very possible. Let's just plus this before I forget. So what I could do now is if I Ponder into a land, that would be awesome. If I Ponder into a land, one with 2 cards, could be Second Cutter. That wouldn't be insane. Then it has to be a 1-drop spell, otherwise they would have kept the Ponder. Hmm. I could also go Spellbomb here, but I think it's actually time to cast Ponder, find a land, and then Spellbomb Crack. That would be ideal. Let's see if I can get there. Okay, I do get there. That's decent. Now the question is, do I want to join to these other cards? Kaito plus land. That's not bad. So I should probably go like this. Land, Kaito, land, play island. Is this another draw step sack? So the opponent can't upkeep something like Lightning Bolt? Let's see. Attack it dead, attack it dead. If I chump block, they need one spell to kill it. There's also the possibility that playing out 3/4 is the move. And then crack without bonus. Okay, I'm actually going to try that. I think I'm doing decent in the card advantage department. No days, that's huge. So now in the draw step, I'll pop my spell bomb. All right. We do it on the draw step because... Oh, wow. Let's see if the opponent... Oh, they can have second heat here. Oh, shoot. Ooh. Okay. That's a good one. I certainly didn't think about. Yeah, I guess these decks are between 1 and 2 on Holy Heat, so nice. The opponent capitalizing on my smart-ass move here. My move is good against every hand with no Unholy Heat, because then I don't allow them to cast Upkeep removal spell to manipulate their draw step. But it's very bad against the Unholy Heat, so yeah, I'm sad about that for sure. Yeah, wow, that was a big punishment. I wish I had that on the radar. But not this time. I believe my next draw is a Scalding Tarn. Also, my opponent, if they cast a spell, they trigger the cutter. Yeah, second cutter. Okay, okay, I see, I see. My opponent played this well, capitalized on the one thing I didn't think about. That's how Magic should be, right? So now my Tamiyo's dead. I can redeploy another Goyf. A double cutter, that's really brutal. It looks like my Tamiyo's exactly dead here, which is annoying. Yeah, the game is a lot different if I crack on my turn. That's the thin margins you can't afford to give up. Here's Kaito, a card that is not very impressive right now. Actually forgot about that. I thought I had to land there, but I didn't. So now I can brainstorm into another Goyf. I think that's the move. Ooh. Engineer Explosives, eh? Maybe that's a card for next turn. So I guess Kaito and Bauble gotta go. Kaito and Bauble gotta go, is that right? Play that. Fetch. Play another Goyf. Exiling. Land is somewhat easy to get. Instant sorcery. And then I guess the creature's a free roll. So maybe I can do like this. Remove artifact because I have an artifact coming. Then how big will it be? Then it'll be instant sorcery land. That's a 3/4. That's not bad. So like this. This leaves me with just double checking. 2/3, I think. Is there a way to do that better? Let's see. I leave land instant creature. Okay, perfect. So played as a 3/4. Do I attack here? Yes. Yes, I do. Sent the Orc Army. Pass. And now my plan is to EE for 2 to get rid of the cutters. And then kind of clean up with my removal spells. Oh, this is a good one. That is a good one, unfortunately. Okay, okay. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Another Goif in play, instead of using 3 mana on it now, would have made it a lot easier. But this is probably a more interesting game, so sometimes bad things happen, but it's good for other reasons. The opponent keeps the cards, so they're going to double trigger here, and I guess I'll be buried soon. We might end up in a situation where where my opponent is all in, and I get to clear the monks. I think that is very, very possible. Here's Channeler. Yeah, I probably have to clear the monks now. So my hope is my opponent's last card is, I guess, Murktide Regent, and they are kind of stuck. I think that's the way I win this game. I will block a 2/2 here. My opponent has a Lightning Bolt. I think they earned it. I don't think I'm supposed to worry about that. Let's see. Sending the monks makes a lot of sense. Not send the channeler. Think tells me there's no bolt. I'm taking 6 here down to 19. I'm happy with my life total. My opponent passes the turn. So now I can attack for 4. Play explosives. Play Merc. Nah, yeah, then I have to crack to play Murktide. Oh, that's a little bit annoying. How about... Can I slow down here? Can I actually beat the monks, and can I get rid of the cutters? I kill an artifact that puts artifact in sorcery into the graveyard. And then next turn worry about the flyers. Maybe, yeah, I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to try the EE for 2. Not sure about this, though. I think my opponent's last card is either Murktide Regent or Pyroblast. And that was wrong. Okay. Brainstorm. But I guess since my opponent did not respond with Brainstorm, they sideboarded out Daze. Otherwise, I think they were supposed to respond to the EE. Yeah, Brainstorm was a tough one for me here because it probably enables Delirium quite easily. Oh, wow. That is incredible. Playing the 0 drop. That is really, really incredible. Yeah, nice play by the opponent. So they gave themselves a chance, just at a little bit of a weird timing, but they gave themselves a chance to double spell on the way out. And now I think I get run over by more or less any spell. Let's see. And they got to mill. They got to mill over a land. I'm going to get rid of my brainstorms, going super wide. Yeah, I think it's time to concede here and conceal a tiny bit of info. I think that the writing was on the wall there. Wow, impressive here by my opponent. Yeah, one small slip up and the game can run between your fingers. That's the magic I love. Okay, so let's see. Turn 1 Nethergoyf. Keep my opponent busy. Draw a little bit. Keep going with Ponder. Either getting into Kaito or Baragoyf, so lands are premium. Let's see. Bobble right away. Is that good? Let's try it out. I think it's good to just keep the train moving here. Land. Playing Nether Goyf out, essentially signaling that my mana base is good. You shouldn't wasteland me. Trying to get going here. Sheldrit's Edict. That means if my opponent goes turn 1 Delver or Chandler, we have an answer, but they didn't. That's a little bit weird. So I'm probably going to be facing a cutter turn here. Let me cast this Ponder. Hydroblast is a little bit late. Could be decent. Actually, I'm going to take it. Leave a Bowmaster on top. I'm going to play Wasteland so that my opponent cannot go Surveillant end of turn. Let's see if this pays off, because it looks a little bit shady here with the Wasteland land drop. My opponent could smell blood in the water. So I'm expecting my opponent to cast Quarry Steel Cutter here. Then I'm going to Hydroblast it and Bowmaster on my next turn. Ah, it's not going to happen. Huh, interesting. Chandler is, I mean, that's incredible with what I have lined up here. So I wonder, what was that? I guess the opponent didn't want to play turn 1 because of turn 2 Bowmasters? Yeah, probably. So I should play a Swamp, and I should play Orcish Bowmasters. If it gets countered, my Nether Goyf hits harder. If it resolves, that is incredible. It resolves. Interesting. I believe my next card down is Brainstorm, getting in there with Curdape. Holding up Hydro, because if my opponent goes Cutter plus 1-drop, I can fight on the stack, making Cutter a non-issue for the turn. And then hopefully I can untap into getting Kaito going, all of that jazz. Wasteland. Okay, not bad, not bad. I'll be floating here. Nether Goyf is now a 3/4. Let's see. Is this what my opponent playing Cutter first main phase and me getting value with Hydro? That would be incredible. We have to let the Wasteland resolve here, and then we can commence. Floating blue here, hopefully signals Brainstorm from my opponent's POV. Come on, opponent. Go Cutter plus Bauble. Okay, they found the line. That's a good one. Passing the turn and then doing it. It's a lot better. Well played, well played. That card. Interesting. I guess I'll just edict that card and try and attack. So each opponent sacrifices a non-token. Here's my instant. Right now I'm hoping my opponent's hand is basically Pyroblasts and stuff like that, I guess. It's probably safe to say my opponent has Cutter in hand, but with no third land, they couldn't trigger it. There's the third land. So now I expect my opponent to cast a Cutter and a spell, essentially. So now let's see what that spell is. Also, I'm pretty stuck over here. My board state looks commanding, but my opponent can easily stabilize this game. Need to find a land here to... Okay, 2-mana removal spell onto that card is very good for me. I now have 5/6 Nether Goyf. And if I brick here on an uncastable... Wow, that educates me a lot. That's really, really good for me. So let's see, how much damage do I have here? I have 6. So if I Thoughtseize myself, I have 7. Almost. Let's try and Thoughtseize here. Ooh, was that bad? Maybe that was a bad play. Because in theory, I could get into a situation where I'm giving my opponent Delirium before combat here. Okay, never mind. That didn't happen. But I actually think I should have attacked first. Yeah, that was not good. Okay, okay. A little bit of rust. I'm certainly not playing perfect Magic here. That's why we're here to learn, right? But build that consistency to do it 10 out of 10 times instead of 8 out of 10 times and let something slip through the cracks. So now we're going to see a ton of that stuff. I'm not going to care about the... so now this Thoughtseize educates me that I'm not going to just wasteland into the abyss here. So my opponent has a Daze in hand and a card on top, and that card probably has to be Murktide Regent, or we're done here. All right, that card was Murktide Regent, and we are not done here. So now I'm 1 life away from having lethal. If I draw a land, I got this. 7/7, unfortunately. That is a good size, and that is a brick, so I have to pass. If I attack, my opponent's at 1. That doesn't really do anything. So now if I really want my opponent to fetch here, I must say. I know they have a Daze, by the way. My opponent doesn't fetch. They draw a brick, so they realize they need to do that. I could be in trouble here. Okay, a cutter and an equip. No equip. For some reason, a lot of people forget that mode. My opponent has a Daze. Okay, I guess oh, I think I missed... No, a Daze and a fetch land, right? I think they have a Daze and a fetch land. Not quite sure. All right, I need to get there. I didn't get there. Spell bomb. Spell bomb is not bad. Will my opponent Daze that card? They probably they probably should not, actually, because of how Corey Steel Cutter works. My opponent also knows that they have... If I start playing the game here after being in a terrible position, they're probably losing. So let's sacrifice this one. It doesn't grow the Murktide as we speak. Draw into another brick, and I have to pass. Okay. Wait a minute. Isn't my opponent just dead now? Let's see. I got a little lost with the Thoughtseize. I saw 2 deltas. It seems like my opponent has played 1, activated 1. That's funny. I lost track here. That's actually really, really bad timing to lose track. So let's try it one more time here. I Thoughtseize a Ponder with 2 deltas. Problem is, here are 2 deltas. At that point, my opponent was at 3. I think they have delta in hand. Because at that point, my opponent had Volcanic delta in play. And they played 1 out. All right, I guess this is my time to look silly. I lost track of your hand, and I had to double check before I could get the job done. So I got very lucky. My opponent had an atrocious brainstorm where they had to keep the only good card on top, which was Murktide. I guess what they could have done was put back Ponder and Murktide, show me the Daze and whatever. I kill the Daze, then they Ponder into the Murktide and they rearrange the deck a tiny bit. But I don't know. I got very lucky here by playing, I cast 1 blue card to win the game. That was a Ponder, right? So yeah, got pretty lucky here to get over the hump. I had a lot of turns to find blue, but I didn't. So we had to get a little bit lucky here with the life totals. All right, let's play some more Magic. All right, more tempo gaming here. This is round 2, and I wanted to play with a generic hand. This hand is a hand where you can consider not casting your turn 1 cantrip, because you can see polarized cards like Force, Push, Wasteland, and you have no idea if they're good or not. I think maybe Polluted Delta Pass can be a better play than Tarn here, in order to get my opponent to, I don't know, shuffle some Ponders or go and look for Force of Wills. This is a little bit of an unconventional way to play, but I actually like delaying my decision when I have the wiggle room. I want an informed Ponder, informed Brainstorm, informed Surveil, right? I don't know if I'm getting Thought Seized. I don't know if my pitching opponent goes for basic, all of that jazz. So yeah, let's have this resolve. So for now, I'm going to assume it's the Reanimator matchup, followed by the Mirror. But then again, could be some Storm deck or Doomsday deck, right? Okay. Taking Fatal Push, huh? That says a lot. So let's try and go for a Surveil here. Daze. Daze is probably not that bad when my opponent doesn't know about it. Let's do that. So now I feel like I should cast Brainstorm. I have so many good 1-drops in my deck. And those are not some of them. So maybe I hide a Bowmaster on top of the deck and I go like land, Bowmaster, land, pass. I have Daze up against what I assume is going to be my opponent's Bowmaster, Voidwalker, that type of deal. Okay, Tameo is annoying. But I think I'm going to try and fight her with... Ooh, the mirror match. Love to see it. I think I'm going to try and fight her with... the Bowmasters. So let's see. Return. Let's Daze the Nethergoyf. That is too annoying. And then I'm going to draw the second Bowmaster, and then I'm going to live off of basics here and slam... Should I slam a Bowmaster here? Is that even smart? I think that's what I'm going to do. It's a little bit annoying to act first on your Bowmasters. I wonder if I force a Daze here. Doesn't feel great, I must say. Forcing a Daze. I don't love it, but I wanna make sure that I don't lose to this Tameo. Or at least I punish it a little bit in the meantime. So okay, playing the mirror. Like, this is cool. I love this kind of magic. I didn't get off on the perfect foot here. My opponent has made some good plays into the game, just bread and butter stuff. Okay. Flipping the Tameo. And now my opponent's going to bait another Bowmaster out of me, which is annoying. I'm not going to play around second Daze. I'm okay getting blown out here. So do that. Then Surveil into what? Get rid of a land. That's great, I guess. Holding the Tameo at bay. Yeah, I'm in trouble this game. Bad exchange on the Force. Bad, bad situation with the uncontested Tameo. And then exactly this, going first on Bowmasters. An easy kickoff for my opponent there. Well played. All right, let's see if I can get out of this. You draw another Bowmaster. That is pretty cool. So now what's going to happen if I attack the Tameo? Let's see. Attacking Tameo with a 1-2. Then I'm gonna play this. F4 damage. Opponent's last 2 cards. Could be Force Blue card. Maybe there's a Desperado Brainstorm. Desperado Brainstorm, trying to look for Force Blue card. Or Double Days, I guess, in a perfect world. I have to kill this Bowmaster, I feel like. Then I get in for 2 on the Tamiyo. But it's a big problem here. I feel like I'm getting beat by the Walker and my opponent's extra cards. Spellbomb. Spellbomb with no crack. That's decent for me. Murktide Regent. Wow. Wow, see. That is a good one. I feel like I should attack first because my opponent's last card could easily be Petty Theft. And if my opponent wanted to clear my graveyard, they would have done already. So I feel relatively safe that I can turn second main the Murktide. Murktide Regent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pass. So I guess my opponent's plan is now to -3 Tamiyo to push the Bowmaster and start, you know, cracking spell bombs, casting the Ponder in hand. That I'm guessing they have, of course. Fatal Push gets returned. Bowmaster probably going to bite the dust. And let's see the last card here that the opponent... I guess just Clue and Spell Bomb makes this a viable play. So if they have Petty Theft, they get rid of the Murktide now. They don't. This is good for me. So now I have to decide whether I play around second Fatal Push when I'm deciding my attack. Okay, my opponent makes that decision for me. Okay, that's great. Nether Goyf is an atrocious draw. It could be good. Maybe I should attack my opponent for 7 and I guess 6. Tough call. Oh no, this doesn't work. Oh shoot. Okay. So let's attack Tamiyo here. And then nothing? Is that how I play? Guess might as well send this clown. Okay. Unclear. I probably should have double attacked Tamiyo here. It looks like I got away with it. Yeah, I feel like I should have done that. That would have been better. Nether Goyf is very bad right now. Could be good if I draw anything like a Bauble into whatever or a Ponder into whatever. It looks like my opponent's hand is quite bad and they need this Tamiyo to kind of get out of this. Which is, of course, good news for me. Opponent playing well here, looking for Kaito. Love it. Awesome play. Looking for Kaito before the damage step. So, unfortunately, my Murktide is a 7/7, which will come up now. Oh, no, it won't. This is a 3-mana play. Is this just Nether Goyf from the yard? This is just Nether Goyf from the graveyard. Okay. So, removal spell ices the game. Some cantrip shenanigans ices the game. Tamiyo. Not bad. Not bad. So I guess let's start with Tamiyo in case my opponent's hand is Force Blue card land. Let's attack with Murktide Regent. My opponent has a chump blocker, but they have to slow down on the clues in order to get there. My opponent knows I don't have removal because I would have killed the Nether Goyf and attacked. I'm bad against Grayson Borrower. I'm not bad against Murktide because my opponent just drained their graveyard a little bit. Blue getting sacked. And yeah, that was a weird game. I had to play out a lot of Bowmasters proactively, and I ended up getting there on tempo. My opponent not drawing Brazen Borrower, not drawing Murktide, not even hard casting Kaito. So yeah, I got lucky on that one. Let's see if we can get rid of the same cards here as the other matchup. Baragoyf, Edict, Dismember. So that is 4 good cards. I guess I'll just swap for the Forces and keep some Dazes. And Dazes are not that great, but, you know, they're certainly playable. It's a little bit annoying when your Hydroblast don't connect against that variation of tempo, but, you know, that's how it goes. Yeah, let's see if we can have a game where Tamio doesn't run rampant in the early turns and I have to get super lucky. All right. This hand is good against Tamio. I do have to expose my dual lands, it looks like, if they go turn 1 Tamio at least. Turn 1 Sewers. I think. Oh, milling over Bowmasters? That is a weak sign. That is a weak sign if I ever saw one. Tamio, great draw. I'll try and get that going. I'll Dace a Dace. It looks like I'm going to get Tamio going here, and my opponent's on a 1-lander. Milling over Bowmasters is a little bit alarming from their side. So now they're going to go tap land. Nope, okay. So they found a land. You can play that card out. Okay. That's all goody. I like just get, you know, casting my removal spells and attacking with Tamio. So my opponent has a tap land in hand just like I do, but I have a Tamio going. They have a milled Bowmaster, and I'm hanging on to one. So there's a little bit of a advantage for me going on here. Let's see. They slam a Bowmaster. Kind of the opposite game of what we just had. If I draw an untapped land, this is incredible. If I don't, I have to slow down a little bit. So maybe the move is Thoughtseize now. And then Bowmaster next turn. I actually like that. Cast Thoughtseize. Aragoyf, that's a good one. So is the Bowmaster. I think I should take the Bowmaster because I have a way to kill Baragoyf later. They draw an untapped land. It's a little bit annoying. But I think I'll live with that. Let's play that. Fetchline solves the job. Yeah, why not? So now I'm working with Bowmaster Superiority. Nice Thoughtseize. Here's a Brainstorm, well played, with the Thoughtseize Brainstorm sequence, and then they can use the Undercity to set up half a shuffle here on the worst card. Love to see it. I'm going to mill the Brainstorm over. So they have Baragoyf on top of the deck, I would imagine. Now the question is, should I get my Kaito going? Maybe make an emblem? I think that would be pretty good. If I make an emblem, how big is... So let's see. Is Dismember lethal right now onto a Baragoyf? I believe it is, because there's only all of the standard stuff in the yard. Okay, I'll try and get a Kaito moving. Kaito, I'll plus it and use it as a punching back. Pass. The opponent has Baragoyf and 2 unknowns in rotation. Brainstorm, sure. So right now I don't have convenient revolt available. I'll have to go through the clues, which is annoying against a bowmaster. So let's see how this plays out. This is a Murktide Regent. All right. That's a good one. Kaito's now down to 3. Okay, opponent. Okay, I see you. Land is a good draw, so let's tap down the Merc. Attack for 4. Baragorf and 1 unknown in the opponent's hand. Yes, Tamio. And I think it's better to hold up 2 removal spells than go push the Bowmaster, crack a clue. So now I am going to block the Orc army. And then I'm going to consider heavily. Ooh, shoot. That works, and that does explain the attack, unfortunately. Okay. So now Kaito is attacking my Kaito dead. Can't really do anything about this. Yeah. Nice play. Thoughtseize will be good onto some of my opponent's cards. Problem is Theragoyf, Bowmasters. Yeah. Yeah, well played, well played. The opponent successfully turned the corner here, I feel like. Wasteland. That does make Baragoyf a non-factor. So what can I do here? I can Wasteland my opponent, sack 2 clues, and try and get into a powerful next turn. This is going to be rough. But how is my best chance to win this game? Is thought seizing better than wastelanding is another question. Okay, let's crack a clue. In theory, I could hit Sheldred's Edict, right? Wow, Baragorth. So maybe I should just slam that. I feel like that is the move. And then kind of force my opponent to stun it. Like, yeah. This is going to be a rough one. Murktide is off the table for 1 more turn. I do have the removal spells at the ready. Stunned Baragorth. One is really pressuring me here. I currently have 0 answers to Kaito nor Murktide Regent. Nethergoyf is a good one. And then the opponent can Bowmaster now. I think that's a good move. They might hang on to it. They Bowmaster and then. Well played. I'm at 6, staring down a ton of cards. Here's a 5/6. 5/6 can easily get tapped down. That's kind of the issue. Murktide is on the loose. I have to kill that card. Crack a clue or some miracle draw. Yeah, that's not a miracle draw. All right, let's try and take this opponent down game 3. The opponent played well there. Always gotta tip your hat when you're playing against a strong player. Making me work for it. I'm gonna do no changes here. I love my setup. That was a cool one. Opponent with Baragorf, and I'm trying to earmark my removal spells. Didn't quite work this time around. All right. This hand is very cantrip heavy. This looks like a basic island. Cast Ponder. Try and find another delta, like an avenue to the swamp. I think this hand needs to build mana. Bunch of cantrips to unload here in a Bowmaster matchup. Let's see if we can get there. Basic island. And there it is. Okay, so I guess this is all good. Bloodstainmire, very strong. Then I can go Brainstorm Thoughtseize next turn. This hand is weak to Tamiyo, which is part of why that card is so sick, right? When you don't have your removal spell, a card can just run away with the game. We have a Kaito, so yeah, let's do this. Let's cast Brainstorm first. Okay. This is a little bit annoying, because I really want a Tamiyo now. But do I want to shuffle my deck? How many bad cards do I have here? Baragoyf and Kaito are both very good 3-drops. Does that mean I don't have time to cast Thoughtseize? Let's imagine the opponent goes land, Fatal Push to Tamiyo, attack me. Well, then what do? Then I think my next turn is Thoughtseize Tamiyo. Which one of these 3-drops are more likely to be good? I guess for the time being, Kaito is slightly more likely to be good. I could also just redraw the Baragoyf. Maybe that's the move. Okay, let's redraw the Baragoyf. I probably should have put the Kaito there. My mind was in shuffle mode there. Yeah, I should do that. So I should have had Baragoyf in hand, Kaito on top of the deck. So then I'm kind of immune against getting Thoughtseized. Basic Swamp is annoying. Here's Fatal Push. So things are going as I planned. Or as I expected, I guess. The unknown is the Tamiyo flip there. No Tamiyo flip. So I think the move now is Thoughtseize my opponent, cast Brainstorm, fetch Sculpt my perfect hand, play Tamiyo. Now the question is, what if I can just Brainstorm into a Fatal Push and get this card out of here? Next card down is a Brainstorm. Okay, I think I should start on Brainstorm, because if there's a Fatal Push, I want to go down that route. There's no Fatal Push, but there's a 4/5. I'm really interested in that 4/5, I must say. So I guess Brainstorm land goes back. I'm living life a little bit on the edge here when it comes to getting wasted. Is it too late for Tamiyo? Maybe it's too late this game. I want to get the 4/5 down. Okay. I'm going to try and put the Tamiyo back on top. Play a land. Thoughtseize my opponent. Slam Nethergoyf. The opponent also has a Nethergoyf. That is a little bit annoying. It looks like Bowmasters is more annoying, right? Let's go rid of that card. Let's play another Goyf. So Orcus Bowmasters and Nihil Spellbomb, they kind of handle the Nether Goyf, which is incredibly annoying. My opponent's left with these cards. Yeah. Oh, I clicked the wrong one, so let me just note it down here. Nether Goyf left. No Bowmasters. They play out that land. Is that to clear my yard? And yeah, okay. So they flip the Tamiyo here. Flipping Tamiyo. Nethergoyf, Sewers, 2 unknowns. Here's Wasteland. So what happens if I go fetch, slam Kaito, surveil, put some cards in the yard, start working on Tamiyo? I feel like that's the move. Don't daze me, bro. Kaito, surveil, try and build the Nethergoyf. Actually like this. Creature and sorcery. I think we take this, even though a little bit annoying. Pressuring the Tamiyo, so Tamiyo can't get back. Fatal push from the graveyard. I have successfully developed a Kaito, which is a potent attacker. Okay, well, we have a good game on our hands here, and I know about another Goy from my opponent's hand, a 4/5. Clue getting sacked, so the opponent has kind of a bad hand. Okay. Wasteland. Bad draw is bad. So what if I stun and we attack dead that card? I think that's good. So let's see. Stun Nethergoyf. Attack for 2 and 2. So Tamiyo down. And then I play a land to play around double days. I slam a Barrow Boy. Barragoyf. I kill the land now before they untap. I don't want to give them free Revolt for Fatal Push. Pass the turn. Again, it looks like a commanding board, but it doesn't take much for that to change, unfortunately. This Nethergoyf is out of the picture for the time being. We have 2 cards that are must deal with from the side of our opponent. And then we have this Nethergoyf, which can do a little bit of chip damage, I guess. Let's see if this Wasteland comes up. Honor to shuffle. My opponent's really desperate here. Shuffle with the Ponder. Underground Sea. Orcish Bowmasters for a little bit of chump block action. Okay. That's solid. Let's see if we can find something. Brazen Borrower. So what happens if I bounce the Orc army here? I think that's a very, very strong play. Petty Theft onto the army. Now I'm attacking for a bunch of damage here. So let's see. Should I plus here? Is that just more damage? 4, 9, 12. What happens if my opponent chum blocks here? Then I'm going to be very happy that I surveilled. Okay, let's just send the clowns. Yeah, my opponent's in between a rock and a hard place here. They're going to take the damage. All right, I'm going to get in for how much? 10? 11? Let's see what this Barragoyf can do. This Barragoyf returns a Nethergoyf. Okay. So let's... yeah, let's just plus... Let's play a land, let's play a Nethergoyf, and let's kill an Underground Sea, so I punish some double spell hands, like Ponder into Murktide, shut off some multi-spell lines that my opponent probably needs in order to win. Opponent is down to 7. Nile Spellbomb would take those Nethergoyf out of the equation. Damage-wise. Already one Spellbomb gone. Yeah, this is down to the wire. It's now or never for the opponent. This could be their Revolt for Fatal Push, but it's also their land drop, so something like Push plus Murktide. Does that stabilize? Here's Murktide Regent. This is 6/6. What happens if I stun the Murktide Regent and I send the Goyfs? What happens if I do that? Then if my opponent has another Bowmaster, which they could have, let's be honest. They can chum block. I think this is time to go. Stun that. The opponent has sent the GGs. Yeah, that's a little bit too strong here. I really liked how I prioritized the first couple of turns. I had some ideas, then I changed based on what my opponent did. Played a good Thoughtseize. Could curate my plan a little bit. The Heartcast of Kaito was strong to boost the Nethergoyf. That ended up being crucial, so I could kill the Tameo on the following turn. Where if I ninja that card in, let's see. Do I then get in for more damage? Is that how it works? Maybe if I ninja it in, that's better, because it enters attacking around the Tameo minus. Okay. Maybe that would have been better. I don't know. There's always a lot of details in the game of Magic, so I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Let's play one more match. All right. Last round of the video, Tempo Gaming, just like everybody loves around here, right? This hand looks solid. I'll probably have to end-step Brainstorm, which is always a little bit painful. If I have 3 bad ones on top, I look like a jerk. If I have some good ones, I look like a champ. Opponent doing nothing turn 1 could incentivize me to say, let's look 1 card deeper. But I'm actually still going to cast this. I think the potential upside here is, frankly, too big. Okay. So maybe I can put back a Wasteland. Yeah, let's do that. So put back a couple of Wastelands. Now I'm going to pass the turn. Holding up a Bowmaster. I have days if they're at Cutter, Beanstalk, Stoneforge, whatever deck. Okay. I love this. Wasteland on top of the deck. Certainly don't want to go for that card, right? Right, guys? Right, guys? Maybe this is time to fire a Brainstorm Surveil combo. Or maybe I should just get rid of 2 Wastelands here. That's actually a decent opportunity. So which deck is playing like this? Nado midrange? Breakfast? Am I getting stifled here? That's awesome. All right, we're getting stifled out of Is It Tempo. So how did I stack these? I guess I'm just drawing Wasteland. Never mind. Okay, drawing Wasteland. I guess I actually like the Wasteland on top of my deck a decent amount. Now that things changed a little bit, I can try to get lucky at least. So I expect my opponent to go Surveil Land end of turn. And then with this game being a little bit low resourced, I'm actually gonna waste the Volcanic so that if there's a Daze exchange, they have to return a tap land. This is sometimes not what you want to do, but I think when I have another Wasteland on top and I'm staring at this Daze, I think that's something I should consider. Here's a Murktide Regent that I'm gonna handle with a Daze now that I have the chance, essentially. So then, let's see, what's the alternative? The alternative is letting my opponent have... Yeah, my alternative is letting my opponent have the 2 mana again. Maybe that's fine. Okay. Murktide resolves. I'm going to petty theft it back to hand. This, a little bit of a gamble. Could pay off. Here's a wasteland. Should I expose that card? Yes, I think I should. I put into Stifle deck. That's so annoying. I think this is fine. Let's develop the wasteland. Let's petty theft the Merc and daze a daze if I need to. My opponent returns the untapped land, which is kind of what I expected. Okay, fighting with a force. Let's see. This is a 5/5. I can make a 6/6 Murktide Regent in a couple of turns. My opponent has a 5/5. 1 land, 2 unknowns. Let's see. This could be crazy. The reason to make this play is that I believe I can get to 2 mana and an additional blue card and play my Murktide Regent with force backup before I'm dead, which is not at all something I can count on. I have to let this go. Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is probably a darn good card. Then I will also learn if I'm supposed to Wasteland or not. Oof, oof, oof. Okay, let's see. Instant. Okay, so this is tough because second cutter. That's annoying. So if I take, let's see, if I take Quarry Steel Cutter, my opponent can play Chandler, which is a 1/1. Yeah, I probably have to play like this though. Wasteland. What happens if maybe I should take the Chandler and Wasteland my opponent. Is that good? Then if they draw land, they can play that double spell at any moment. What happens if I take the Chandler and Wasteland them? Sorry, the other way around. What happens if I take the Cutter? Okay, I'll take the Cutter. I'll waste my opponent. And then my play is about drawing a blue card next turn. So I can play the biggest Murktide in the business. Oh, that's so strong. Have to let this go. I have to let this go and hope my opponent finds 3 spells off of this. Yeah, that was not good for me. It was a tough call with the Murktide situation. I think the size of that Murktide, it was too juicy to try and get them later. Obviously, I don't look like much of a champ now. I need them to draw 3 spells here. Okay, well, that also kills me. Okay. My opponent did well here. Ooh, baby, even that card. Well, that's gonna do it. Because 7 here and then damage next turn. Nicely done. This game got a little bit out of hand. 7 cards. So cut counters and a single Thoughtseize. Yeah, I got a little bit out of hand there. If I fight over that Murktide, I buy a ton of time. That's also good. At the time, I didn't have any plan, which is not good. Yeah, it was a tough decision. Didn't work out this time, that's for sure. Just the fact that Red Tempo has the ability to go wide, Lightning Bolt in the deck, just a bunch of that stuff you have to kind of factor into every decision where something is seemingly under control, but it plays out in a bad snowball-y fashion here. So if I'm winning that game, it looks like my opponent drawing a somewhat of a brick for that turn, playing a Chandler. I play my Murktide to brick his, then I play my Bowmasters to hopefully kill the Chandler, and then we have a situation where I have the biggest Merc and a Hate Bear in play. But even that would be kind of dicey. I'm going with the same sideboard strategy as last time. All my cheap stuff and get rid of counters. Those are very situational. They get a little bit better with Forest Steel Cutter in the mix. And then the plan is to hopefully get a Tamiyo or Nerdergoyf going early to put a little bit, not necessarily pressure on the opponent, but keep them a little bit off balance if they have to spend their mana turn 1 on killing a creature instead of deploying 1. If they have to spend their mana turn 2 killing a creature instead of, getting Cutter going, that kind of stuff. Then we can get into a mid-game situation where Protected Murktide or Baragoyf can do their best work. But yeah, that's not only up to me. I like my setup here, obviously. For everybody who's been following my content, I enjoy the black version versus the red version. Bowmasters, Nethergoyf, Baragoyf. That's a deadly trio if you're registering Volcanic Island. Let's see what the opponent's up to. Maybe a little bit of a coffee break. That's allowed. This is Magic Online. This is not paper Magic. Well, I would be yelling at a judge, "Hey, my opponent is taking a while sideboarding." All right, you're back here. Okay, this hand is a little bit weird because if I'm gonna play turn 1 Tamiyo, I'll have to crack a fetch and go get a C, which the opponent will sniff out, right? That's not just a C from hand. So there's also the point about Tamiyo is a card that frequently dies. The opponent's playing quad Lightning Bolt, triple Pyroblast. So playing it a turn later is not that bad. I'm actually going to fetch Underground Sea and cast Ponder here. If this was an Underground Sea, I would cast Tamiyo. It's that close, in my opinion. We have some solid stuff up the curve here. We're a bit weak to Quarry Steel Cutter. That's why the card is good, right? You can't just have a Fatal Push and be golden. Let's see if we can find. I mean, the dream here is to find 2 lands off the Ponder, but I'll take 1 any day of the week. All right, we will have to shuffle these and pass the turn. Unfortunately, this will tip the opponent off quite nicely. I think in a perfect world, I fake tank a little bit on that Ponder. This is probably way too transcribed. That would be my best suggestion if you're playing at home or playing at your next tournament. At least give it a good old think here. You have to give the opponent the idea that I was actually looking at some too many lands or a little bit of a bad spell mix, stuff along those lines. With a quick shuffle like this, it has "I'm looking for land" period written all over it. So let's say I managed to get into this game. I probably not even have to draw like a land next turn to be in this game. Because if I don't, then what am I going to do? Play out Naked Tamiyo with no land drop? That would be atrocious. All right, we're not up against Wasteland. That's good news. That's step 1. Let's see if we can nail step 2. Chandler. We could not nail step 2. I feel like with Bowmaster in hand, I should probably give it a good old try here to nail it with Bowmaster after I draw land. But now it could be like bluffing a daze is my position. But then when I pass the turn, my opponents kind of learn that they're not up against much of any competition here. Pass the turn, breaking on the Ponder, not ideal. Not how we drew it up. So now not only am I bad against my opponent's good aggressive draws. Oh, it's going to say it the other way around. Not only am I bad against Wasteland, I'm also bad against their aggressive draws. So this is A little bit of a nightmare. All right, all right. That's gonna do it for me today. No luck here from the lands gods, and that's just how it goes sometimes. You know, although these decks they play a reasonable amount of lands, so we just have to hope the math checks out, which it will the vast majority of the time. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you had fun watching some tempo on tempo action. I got a little bit lucky with the matchups, I guess. That was pretty cool for the most part. Lots of back and forth, battling for precision, winning inch by inch. And yeah, that's my personal preferred way to play the game of Magic. Everybody loves different things, obviously. So yeah, thanks so much for watching as always, and I hope to see you back soon.